Welcome to Excelsius Project. My name is Nikki. Today we're talking about the dark side of healing. For those of you who don't know me, I went through a hard time and I made myself videos to help me cope, and then I figured perhaps there's somebody else out there who would benefit, and so I started posting my journey online. Healing can be an incredibly dark, heavy, daunting, terrifying thing. If you think about all the things that have hurt you, and how you've gone to great lengths to avoid them or suppress them, there's a reason. And then when you finally decide to face it, it's a big deal. And you might have heard healing journeys being referred to as shadow work. Shadow for all the things that are hidden, all the unknowns, the things that scare us, that supernatural, illogical fear of things that go bump in the night, that kind of thing. Work for the real work you gotta do to face the things so that you can grow and do better. And it really is a lot of work. It's a lifelong work. It's a dedication to improving. And I think it's very important that when you start doing work like this, that you seriously consider asking for help and going and looking for it. Professional help. Trying to get a therapist to help you is very much like recruiting a guide and a bunch of tools. They give you resources to help you navigate the landscape that you're about to tackle. And they're able to sort of not expedite the process, but they can give you the tools to progress a little bit further, a little bit quicker. They can help you when you're feeling stuck, and when you've reached an impasse, they sort of help guide you. They've got the map and the compass to help you find your way. And I think it's a very important thing if you're trying to heal, that you go and you get somebody to help you with it. And the only advice that I can give is try to find somebody that you feel comfortable with. If you have a therapist and you're not feeling very connected with them, or that they're not really helping you, that's okay. It's very normal. We get along with different people, and just keep trying to find somebody until you feel good and safe with them. It's very important. There's a lot that they can do for you. Admittedly, I've never had professional help, and I wish I had. It would have made things a lot easier for me. I never had the resources to do it, and I've had a lot of issues that I'm still working on with asking for help. It's very difficult for me. I have this impasse when it comes to it, and it's something I'm working on. And I think it's really held me back, and it's taken me a lot longer to get to a certain point because of that. So if I could go back, I would definitely try to do better to find help, and I would have tried to recognize that this is something that is very difficult for me, and I would have tried to have done something about it sooner. Either way, I thought that we would talk about this. So everything that I talk about, they're my experiences, my opinions, my thoughts. Take what resonates, toss out the rest, and watch at your own discretion. I'm not a professional. I'm just sharing what I've been through. So when I think about why it's so dark, why healing is so harrowing, if you could think about it like deep cleaning, you're having to make a bigger mess to tackle your objective. It's almost counterintuitive, but that's necessary. Sometimes you have to declutter the whole area, make a huge mess, go through all the things, figure out what you're going to keep, not keep, got to clean everything, wipe everything, then you've got to sort of put everything back. And depending on how big the job, it really does help to have some help there. And I think the hardest part about getting ready to do this is, and you need to have a mindset. That's the other thing too. I want to talk about this. You need to prepare yourself mentally to undertake this journey. You have to understand that it's going to be a lot harder than you think, depending on what you've been through and how it's affecting you. You're going to have to face the things that scare you, bring you shame, enrage you, and you need to be mentally prepared. You're going to feel the things, and they might feel even more acute than you're prepared for. But if you mentally tell yourself, hey, it might be even worse or even more intense, mentally you can prepare yourself so when it does come up, you're already expecting it. It's not taking you by surprise. Be prepared for the unexpected because that's going to happen along your journey. You're going to have moments where you hit strides and there's advancement. And then you're going to have moments where you're caught off guard and you're going to take a few steps back, and it's going to be very hard to deal with. It's devastating when that happens, because here we are progressing along and we're feeling good, and then all of a sudden, boom, something hits us, and now we're back to where we almost started, or at square one. We got to start all over again. And if you're somebody who has been repressing things, or you've been through something really traumatic, you might have triggers. And you might be triggered by things you didn't even realize or think about. And when a trigger comes, you have to address it. And it can be very exhausting having all these triggers, because you don't want to be emotional. You don't want to be reactive. But it happens and it catches you off guard, and you have all this turmoil on the inside. And we all know that, when we're out there in real life and we're working and we're dealing with other people, not everybody is equipped to deal with emotions, and there's the stigma of if you're emotional, there's something wrong with you, or you're weak or whatever. First of all, you're not. You're not weak. It is not weakness to be emotional. It's not weakness to be sensitive. But I do understand the stigma of it. And there are people who perceive it that way, and it's not right, but it is there. Otherwise, we don't want people to know what's really going on because we're private. I understand that too. So, but you have to understand, you're going to have these moments where you take these hits and you're going to have all the feelings and you're not really going to know what to do. And it's very hard when that happens, especially if it's happening and you're still having to be an effective, productive member of society when all you want to do is go and hide and lock yourself up in your room and not get out of bed. It's a very difficult thing. So if you can expect that the unexpected is going to happen, that you might be triggered by things out of the blue, it will help a little bit mentally when it does happen. You'll be a little bit more prepared. At least I think so. It's been the case for me. I've prepared myself mentally to face the things that I'm scared about, to face the things that make me upset, that have brought me shame, that I feel bad about. And when you start going on this journey, another reason it is so dark is you're going to have a complete shattering of reality. The way you see the world, the way you see people, the way you see yourself, it's going to break. And you need to piece it back together. You're going to see things very differently. And it's going to happen at different moments, and you're going to see different things at different times. And then when you're feeling better, it's not going to feel the same way. But there's going to be moments in your darkness that you're going to feel a type of way about things, and everything's going to feel very foreign, almost alien. You're going to feel very foreign, maybe in your own body. You're going to feel very differently about the people who are closest to you or the people that you're interacting with. The landscape will feel strange. It's almost like what I would imagine being in the Matrix feels like. You're going to feel like you're in this, like, what's the point of life? And and that's the thing, you're going to question your mortality. You're going to question your life. You're going to question what's the point of everything? What's the meaning of everything? You're going to have these types of questions when these things come up. You might experience a range of emotions from confusion, anger, fear. You might even feel, because I've felt all the things, like I've had moments where I've been completely disconnected, completely numb, and then you're basically praying for, wishing for that feeling again, so you feel anything. But this is your mind and your body trying to protect you, because sometimes you can be so overwhelmed by things. I think your body does what it needs to do to protect you. And I've had moments where I dissociate from everything. And you might experience that. You might actually have moments where you're completely numb to everything. You feel nothing. Nothing feels right. You don't feel like you're in your body. You don't feel connected to people. You don't feel connected to things. You're going to feel a range of, depending on what you've been through, you're going to feel a range of things. I felt a range of things. And it's very scary when that happens. It does something to you. It feels odd. It feels very odd, and it's very difficult to come back to yourself and to start feeling okay again when these things happen. And it's a very hard thing to be able to look at the people that have hurt you and try to rationalize the whys of everything. And if the people that have hurt you have been victimized themselves, it's a hard thing to have to forgive them, because they were victims who perpetuated what happened to them to you. And it's something you have to look at and decide whether or not you can forgive. And that's a very difficult thing. It's a difficult thing to develop compassion and sympathy for the people that have hurt you most. But it's something that you have to look at. When you really look at it, it's a very hard thing to do, and it can cause more pain and more trauma. And if they weren't victims themselves and they really were monsters, I mean, that's a whole other thing too. And then you have to look at the things that you allowed to happen. And you have to look at yourself objectively, which is very, very difficult to do, because a lot of us who have had trauma, we have been programmed to think a type of way. There's been a brainwashing that has occurred. People who are manipulative, who cause pain, hurt people. Like, that's a real thing. And sometimes they are monsters that are not hurt, they just like it. And I believe that. I do think that there's evil and good are real things. They're tangible things. And there are people who hurt others because they were hurt, and there are people who hurt others because they like it and they can. And it's a difficult thing to wrap your head around, and to see it and experience it and go through it. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to experience. It's a hard thing to witness. It's a hard thing to understand. There is no logic. There is no logic behind it. There was opportunity, they took it, they liked it, and it was for their gratification. That's a hard thing to wrap your mind around when you're a good person, or when you try to be a good person. And it's something you have to face. But I think the hardest part about facing healing is facing the things that we allowed to happen. It's realizing that we did the best that we could with the tools that we had available at the time, and realizing that there wasn't any more that we could do, that in that moment, with what we knew and who we were different people in that moment. There's only so much that you could do. You did what you could in that moment, with the resources that you had available to you, with the mindset that you had, with the feelings that you were feeling. You did the best that you could. That's a hard thing to look at when you're now in a different place in your life. And hopefully you're in a place where you feel safer, where you know a little bit more. When you're ready to look at this, you're not always going to be able to look back and understand why you did what you did, why you allowed to have those things happen. Or you might understand why you allowed certain things, but you won't understand how you reacted. It's a hard thing to face that, to make sense of it. And you may not be able to make sense of it ever. but you have to make peace with it. And that's what healing teaches you to do. It teaches you to accept these things, to let go of these things. And when I talk about letting go, I'm not talking about pretending like nothing ever happened. You just wash it away and you... I don't know what people think when they think letting go. Letting go is basically an acceptance of yourself, making peace with yourself, of the things that you cannot change. That's all it is. Monsters have done what they did. People have done what they did. They have said what they have said. You cannot change it. But you're the one who's still dealing with it, losing sleep over it, hurting over it. And the people who have done what they have done, they've done it. They haven't lost a wink. They're sleeping like little babies. They don't care, but we care. And we have to somehow reconcile what has happened. And we have to do it for ourselves if we want progress in our own lives. Choosing to forgive something or someone or yourself is acceptance and letting go and saying, I'm not going to let this thing hold me back anymore. It doesn't mean that you accept that person and that you have love in your heart for them now. If you're able to do that, that is incredibly commendable. It's lovely if you're able to do that. It is not necessary. It is not owed. You owe nobody nothing. Ever. You owe yourself. It is up to you to fill your own cup, and if you choose to fill the cups of others, it should be on your terms. You have a right to be here. You have a right to feel respected. You have a right to feel loved, to feel safe. And when you give to others of yourself, you need to do it from a place that feels whole and safe and good. And then you're able to give good back. The other reason it's so incredibly daunting is as you start healing, you might lose yourself for a moment. You're trying to rediscover who you used to be before all the things happened, who you were on the verge of becoming, before somebody stamped the light out, trying to find that light again. Or maybe you're trying to reignite a light. Find a new light. We can become new people. And the thing is, you will become somebody different. You were somebody, and then you had to become somebody to survive the things that you had to survive. You had to shut parts of yourself off. Your brain took care of a lot of what you weren't able to do for yourself with cognition. Your brain has to do a lot of subconscious work to be able to protect you. Your body will do things to work with your mind to protect you. I think so anyway. And you're different people at different times to survive the things that you go through. And on the other side of it, when you've reached a point that maybe you're in now where you're ready to do the work and you're busy doing the work, now you can look forward to becoming who you were always meant to be, or somebody new. The choice is up to you. Going through hard things changes us. And that's a hard thing too. A piece of you will die sometimes when you go through the things that you go through. A version of you will have to be laid to rest. There's a mourning that happens. There is a mourning for all the things that you lost. The parts of you that had to die, that had to survive. It's a very difficult thing to have to face. You might have to relive all the things that you've been burying, that you've been running from, and they might be a lot more acute. That is incredibly difficult. That's why it's so important, if you're able to go and get help, that you have somebody help you navigate that. And when I talk about having shame, Sometimes we have thoughts, we have said things, we have done things we're not proud of. Sometimes when you're going through really hard times, you've had to say, do, or think things to help you get through. Not because you wanted to, but because that was what was necessary to get you through. Sometimes the things that we have gone through make us a little bit hard or apathetic, or they make us freeze. The things that happen when we're going through hard times, we don't always have control over how we react. I've had moments where I've been a deer caught in the headlights, unable to move, unable to speak. Even after the fact, several days after, unable to move, unable to speak, just numb. And I've had moments where I've been incredibly reactive, quick to act, quick to speak. More passionately than I would like. I've had moments I've been completely apathetic, not wanting to get involved, couldn't find my voice. I just wanted to protect myself. I felt unsafe. And then I've had other moments where I've gotten incredibly aggressive. It just depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on what's going on. It depends on who it is. Whatever it is that you experience when you're going through the things that you're going through, you don't always have control. And I think as you start healing and you face these things and you realize that it's a very difficult thing to accept, because we want to be in control. We think we can be. We try so hard to control everything. But control is an illusion. It's a very difficult thing to realize that. It makes you feel so small, makes you feel so vulnerable. And when you're healing, you might reach different stages of healing. There might be a stage of complete release where you let everything go and there's almost like a suppression. There might be a toxic positivity that can happen. I experienced that. You almost go through an elation. You're so happy, you're so excited, you're so positive, you're manifesting, you fall into all the crap that's out there. And believe me, there are people out there making a lot of money preying on people who are hurt, who are going through that hard time, and they're vulnerable right now and they just need a little bit of help, and they need a hand. And there are people out there who are very predatory and they're happy to make a penny off of us. You need to be careful of that. People who claim that they're really spiritual, they have all the answers, they act that way, they don't. You need to be careful. And it might sound really nice to be able to manifest this and wish this and be focused on this. And even when it comes to people who are not spiritual, and you hear these people who are all about personal development, I definitely believe that you need to have a particular mindset, that you have to work hard, that you have to have grit. But I also believe that you need to be very gentle with yourself. You need to listen to your body. You have to be kind with yourself to heal. It's not all go, go, go. Suck it up. You want something, go out and get it. Fight for it, da-da-da. Yeah, to a degree. Within reason. It is not completely reasonable to push, 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 go, 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 go. You need to listen to what your body needs, what your emotional needs are, what your mind needs while you're going through things, while you're healing. When you are healing, it is a different beast. It requires different inputs and outputs to help you navigate. It requires a gentleness. It requires compassion of self. It requires listening to what you're needing. If you're having pain, emotionally, mentally, there needs to be something soothing that happens, not an aggression. You have to think of it like you're tending to a wound. You know, if you've really hurt yourself and you're bleeding, or you've burnt yourself, or you're cut, like whatever, like you've injured yourself. Well, what happens? There needs to be nurturing there. There needs to be care there. Rest, tending, sweetness, kindness. Humans are not robots. We're not machines. You need to listen to what your body needs. Pain needs soothing. That means gentleness. Exhaustion requires peace, rest. Boredom requires activity. Anxiety requires a grounding. You're anxious about all the possibilities and all the things that are going on and all the scenarios. You need a quietness to bring you back into your body. When you're too much in your head, you need to be grounded. When you're too much in your body, you need to be in your head. You need to listen to what's going on with yourself so you can navigate. Everything is connected. And when you're too much one way, or one thing is too much in one area, you can use other areas to bring you back to a better state, a more balanced state to help you cope. And a healing journey is a physically painful one too. There are physical things that will manifest from the things that distress us. You need to think about that. So it's a very holistic thing. It's a very holistic thing that requires a range of techniques, a range of approaches that will help us heal and navigate. And there are some things, and I talked about this, there are some things that will not heal. And we need to learn how to make space to carry this pain and to befriend the pain, so it doesn't become the enemy that we're trying to run away from and hide from, so that it's something that we can honor and we can create routines or rituals to help manage the pain when it's really bad. And you're able to prepare yourself mentally to deal with these things, it's going to help a lot, I think. And I think it really does help when we look for a series of alternative methods to support our journey. It's a lifelong thing. It's almost like a lifestyle in a weird way, living a healthy lifestyle. It's about taking care of our mind and our emotions and our body, our spirituality if you're spiritually inclined, so that you're able to live a more holistically enriched life going forward. Some of the things that you can experience along this journey that make it so difficult, like I said, reliving the pain, remembering things that you buried either on purpose or involuntarily, and when that happens, that's hard. It's really hard. Nightmares, night terrors, anxiety, stress, anger, and for me it's been abnormally enormous anger, like rage. You might feel rage and you need to figure out how to channel that. I do boxing twice a week with a private coach, and it really helps me a lot, but you need to find something that's going to help you with that. Highly recommend. Like I said, you might feel a sense of disillusionment, detachment, numbness. You might look at people, the world, life as though it's completely foreign. When you experience detachment or numbness, you're going to have this surreal moment where nothing feels real. You might blame yourself, blame others. You might get really, really sick. Like your immune system might actually go down. You might experience more colds, the flu. And depression hurts your body. You might go into depression. There are things that you may experience that you might not be ready to cope with, which is another reason why it's so important that you go out and you get help. You might experience anxiety, racing thoughts, insomnia, nightmares, bad feeling that just won't go away in the pit of your stomach, all kinds of things. But then I can tell you what happens when you start facing them. When you start facing the things that you're scared of, and you start working through the mental knots and unknotting all the things and untying things and pulling at threads and doing things that scare you and going outside of your comfort zone, on the other side of that, there is a lot of healing. There is strength. There is resolve. There is compassion and empathy. And when I went through my thing and I saw everything differently, I then came out of it and I saw everything differently again, but I had a lot more compassion. Like, I looked at everything around me and everything was more beautiful. The little things meant more. I felt closer to people, which was very strange for me because I used to be very scared of people. People really, really hurt me. I was afraid of people. I didn't like them. I didn't want any part of society. I wanted to go be a hermit in the middle of the woods. I didn't want anything to do with anybody. And as I started healing and going through things, I look at people and there's a lot of beauty there. As much as, and I'm not naive to the ugly in the world and to the political landscape and the way people are feeling and all this. Like, there are some serious issues that are going on in our world. There have always been, there will always be. There's always going to be a different opinions of things. There's always going to be some strife. There's always going to be wars and things. But if you look at people and you look at the human condition, there are really good people out there. The potential for goodness, for lovely things is wonderful. There's so much out there. And I think that's the other thing, like if you want to see change in the world, you have to become the change that you want to see. And if everybody's making an effort to do better, or a good majority, or some, like, you affect people bigger than you realize. And that was one of the lovely outcomes that happened for me along my healing journey. Sometimes people will meet me and they won't always trust, like when I'm all happy and kind and complimentary. People are so used to people taking advantage of others that when they experience kindness and sweetness, they don't always trust it, and I don't blame them. But when they experience the kindness that I give, I see people light up. And I see people laughing around me and enjoying themselves around me, and I know that I've done a little bit of good, and it feels good. It feels very good. When you start making better decisions, you start feeling good and you radiate goodness. It touches people. And it's very worth it. Doing things outside of your comfort zone is the quickest way to progress. It's the quickest way to evolve. If you're able to do it, I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's terrifying, but you need to do it. And in realizing all these things and in confronting these things, it isn't going to make everything go away. It's not going to solve everything. But it's going to make you realize that, yeah, you were a child of circumstance, but you're not a child anymore, and you can do better, and you can make new decisions, and the things that hurt you don't have to continue to hurt you. And you've got scars. Maybe you have a couple of things that won't heal, but you can have a better life. And you can give others a better life, and you can do better. So if you're going through a really hard time, my heart goes out to you. But you can do this. You can face these things. Get yourself some help. And life can improve. Until next time.